15 years ago, I and 50 young lawyers visited an iconic technology company in Silicon Valley. We were so excited. We stood in line, we scrolled through the non-disclosure agreement and signed our name at the bottom. After all, the only way to gain access is to trade signatures. When we were all done, a senior lawyer from a law firm asked us, "How many of you have read the agreement?" Silence. A very long and a very uncomfortable silence. 50 lawyers in the room, not a single one raised their hand. Not a single one of them read the agreement. Yes, concerning. You seem surprised. But let me ask you this question. How many of you actually read everything you sign? You don't have to answer that question. Yeah, you don't. But let's talk about it. That cell phone that you have to hook up, that agreement. When you signed up for the website or social network, that terms of services, did you read that one? How about your employment agreement and the employee handbook? Did you read that? What about the liability waiver at the amusement park in case, you break a leg or something? How about the endless consent forms in your doctor's office? Do you read those? I see your faces, and I know that you are just like me. You go through life, you say, yes, I do, I allow, I agree, and you don't have a clue. You never even tried to read that. University of Connecticut recently did a study. They invited folks to sign up for fictitious social networking website. As part of it, folks had to agree to the terms and conditions that specified, 1, you give up your firstborn as a payment. Yeah. And 2, all of your information is supplied to the NSA. Guess how many people said yes to that? 98% of people said yes, sign me up anytime. Look, I'm a mother of 2. And, my children are perfect to me. And even at my lowest low, I would never give them up. Not my firstborn, not my secondborn, and definitely not as a payment. So when I reflect on my experience as an attorney in that room where no one raised their hand, and I read the study, you know what I know for sure? Is that informed consent is up there with Santa Claus, Tooth Fairy, and unicorns. It's an urban legend. To think that among 50 lawyers, not a single one was a unicorn that reads the agreement before they sign, that's kind of disappointing. And, I've always wanted to meet a unicorn. They're kind of cute, and they would certainly make a world, a more beautiful, unique place. But hey, we are not here to talk about unicorns. We are here to talk about why our legal system does not produce unicorns that understand their rights, obligations, that sign and say, I do, without really understanding. You see, laws are rules that apply to us in our daily lives. And we collectively have a very dysfunctional relationship with law. We have accepted the urban myth of informed consent, and we have agreed to legal ignorance as a normal, default, everyday state. You see, the problem with law is that it is not of service. We have so much technology. We have so much ability to be of service. So why not law? Let me give you a couple of examples so you can practically understand where this shows up, because it shows up in your life, in the lives of people you love, and you mitigate circumstances quite often. So suppose you found yourself in an abusive relationship. You and your child want to escape. You're looking for answers. Where would you go? Think about it. Where would you go today? Well, most people, when they have questions, when they're searching for answers, they will go to a search. They will go to a search engine, right? You'll go to Google, you'll go to Bing, and you will type things like abusive spouse or, a temporary restraining order or something. And here's the thing. You may get some general definitions that may or may not apply in your jurisdiction, and you'll get a lot of basically entertainment. You will get gossip. You will get celebrity news, someone who might have been abused, and somebody who might have gotten a restraining order. But here's what you won't get. You won't get a referral to your local legal aid clinic, the one that can help you actually navigate this very, very complex situation. And you probably will not even get laws that apply in your jurisdiction. And you will be very lucky if you get a link to relevant court in the first 5 results. You see, the problem with law is that it doesn't show up where you are. Today, you are at the top of the search, and the law is sort of missing in action. But look, life is not all bad. Sometimes there's some happy news, right? It's a mixed bag for most of us. Sometimes we get a good and a bad, and so let's talk about happy things. Let's talk about marriage. Marriage is sort of a happy event for many people, right? And before you get married, there's another happy event. Engagement. So when you are planning an engagement, what do? Well, you're probably going to go back to search. And you're going to type engagement ring. And let me tell you, you will be thoroughly educated at every price point. You will know the intimate details of clarity and carats. You will practically become a geologist. And questions like, is $1,000 enough? Will be thoroughly answered. But here's the thing. Marriage is a legal event. And for those of you who are married or have been married, you know that your life changes. Things like your taxes may change. Your estate planning may change. What happens to your children may change. So the time to think about things like prenup agreement is right there and then when you are looking for an engagement ring. Before you get married, definitely before you're 50% likely to get divorced. Right? That is the time to think about this, to get educated about this. And here's another problem with law. It has terrible timing. Really bad timing. It doesn't show up before or at the time you make decisions of legal significance. That is a bad, bad problem. Let me give you another example. Suppose you get an eviction notice from your landlord. You will get a package. It will have a complaint and a summons, an example of the summons on the screen. And if you flip through this just out of curiosity and inhale this document for what it is, you will find many, many words. In fact, what you'll find is like walls of text. impenetrable walls of text. And somewhere there will be some really important information. Things like the date, time, and location of your hearing. That is a critical information. Hopefully you won't miss it, because if you do, if you miss that critical information and you fail to show up to your hearing, there is a really good consequence and a really good chance that sheriff in town will show up to your doorstep and evict you and your family, and you will find yourself on the streets. And that's what happened to many people during COVID. And that consequence may or may not be explained to you in that package. You see, the problem with law is that it doesn't speak human. It doesn't. It turns out, if you actually want to talk to a human, you will not use walls and walls of text. If you actually want to be heard and understood, if you want to be of service, if you want to be helpful, you would do something entirely different. What you will do is use small paragraphs, short sentences, no legalese. You will highlight or box important information like date and time and location of the hearing. You will even include the consequences of not showing up. And if you really, really want to be helpful, you know what you will do? You will include the referral to the local legal aid clinic, because eviction is a very complex legal proceeding. That's what it means for the law to be of service. That's what it means for the law to be helpful. We have so much technology. We have websites, we have searches, we have GPS location. Every industry, every product is trying to be helpful, to be of service. My question to you, why not law? It's time for Lady Justice to be a servant leader. It is time for us to partner with technology and to prioritize for the law, whether it's delivered by public or private entities, to be of service first. Whether you are a resident, a fiancé, or a spouse, or a lawyer, it's time to say no to urban legends. It's time to stop believing in informed consent. It is time to stop accepting status quo as a default way to exist. For the law to be of service, it must show up where we are. And today, we are at the top of the search. Tomorrow, we may be elsewhere. It could be metaverse, but today we are at the top of the search. And if a law to be of service, it has to show up before we make decisions of legal consequences. And most importantly, it must speak human. You see, for me to present today, I wanted to have a perfect pair of shoes. I kind of like shoes. And so I searched for the perfect shade, and I finally found it. And every time I log into my computer and my phone, I get complimentary advice and suggestion of what else I may be missing in my closet. And let me assure you, if you talk to my husband, he'll tell you there is nothing that I miss in my closet. But the search engine disagrees. So my question to you, if I get relevant advice on shoes all day, every day, without asking, why can't I have relevant, accurate information about laws based on my location, based on my behavior, based on my search? When I look around the room, I see professionals that can work together. I see technologists, I see academics, I see designers, I see public servants, and I see business professionals of all kinds. And yes, I see lawyers. Together, we can design legal systems, whether they're delivered by private or public entities, that are of service first. This way, we don't have to believe in urban legends. We most certainly don't have to accept legal ignorance as default. we can, we absolutely must design the future of law that is of service first. That is how you and you and you and I can become unicorns that actually understand what it is that we sign, that we understand our rights, our obligations, our responsibilities before we say yes, I do, I allow, I agree.